Hey guys, this is a very different episode, as you can see and hear. No intro music. Caitlin is not here. It's late at night. I'm only jumping in to ask for prayers. We have let me just say this. We need prayers. My oldest daughter, sophomore in college, was just diagnosed with a brain tumor. This is all happening very quickly. Just got the diagnosis 48 hours ago as of this recording. She was just having headaches. And we did some quick scans to rule things out. And I'm really sorry to say this for any hypochondriacs listening, but in this case, the headaches did indeed turn out to be a brain tumor. The day you hear this, I'm going to put it out Monday. She'll be doing a brain surgery. It'll be between 8 and 12 hours long, and a team of 5 neurosurgeons will be working on it. She is currently in the intensive care unit, and I'm just recording this real quick in one of the very few breaks that I have right now. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up that things will be a little different around here for a while. I also wanted to specifically say, pray for us. We are asking for the prayers of Our Lady of Champion, which is also known as Our Lady of Good Help. It is the only approved Marian apparition in the United States. The shrine is up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I've been there, had a wonderful experience with the people there. And so that's the main patronage that we're asking for, and that might change. I mean, big to-do list items for Catholics, like figuring out whose prayers we're going to ask for. So if there are updates to that, I will put them in the show notes. But yeah, please ask for the prayers and the guidance of Our Lady of Champion, especially if you're hearing this right after it comes out. I mean, I know God is outside of time, but I am not. So Monday is when we just need prayers for the whole team, and just the long-term stuff after that, and the whole thing. Okay. People have asked how I'm handling it. Not great. I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm still in shock, but I would describe my reaction as medieval. Lot of superstition, a lot of scrupulosity. At one point, I had myself convinced that the problem here was that when we were going in for the scan, I was on the phone with a friend, and I said, this scan is not, it's not going to show anything. It's such a waste of time. It's obviously going to come back clear. And in one of my mental breakdown superstitious spirals, I was like, well, that's what did it. I jinxed it. I should have never said that. But I didn't even knock on wood. Can you imagine the neglect? I mean, so that's, in times of stress, I do kind of default to medieval peasant spirituality, and I'm working on getting out of that. Luckily, I know many people who are better at faith than I am. I've got many priests in my phone, and just talked to one of them on the phone, a Dominican priest, Father Joseph Anthony Kress, a dear friend of mine. He's amazing, and he's been giving me some good counsel to help me not spiral so much. Oh, we did have the anointing of the sick. We called in a priest to the ICU, and that was wonderful, of course. Okay, administrative stuff. And I know, like, who cares, right? It doesn't, like, but what about the podcast? I know, but it's helpful to me to just get my ducks in a row. This is my little bit of time before the surgery. Things are going to be very crazy in the days after that. It's helpful to me to just think through, okay, when do we need to get groceries? What about the podcast? All that. I don't know when I will be updating. I also don't know about shows. And I know probably a lot of you are thinking like, cancel everything, Jen. But I mean, keep in mind, my job is not like, I'm not like a tax auditor, I mean, the work that I do, it gives me energy. And the community that we have built here is very, very uplifting to me. As comedy clubs are always commenting, the people who follow me are not like normal stand-up comedian fans. I mean, I like to think we have a little bit of a deeper connection than that. And being around you guys is always so uplifting. When I go out and do shows, I come home to my family more energized, more uplifted. People will give me they'll give me little gifts and prayer cards and encouraging notes. And I very often, frankly, have priests at my show who will give me a blessing. And so I am going to try to keep as many shows on the calendar as I can, not for you guys, not out of a sense of obligation, for me, for my daughter, because let me backtrack for a second. The whole thing that got me into comedy, one of the things that really started me on this path is I had a friend years ago who was just dealing with a very, very hard situation with her kids. Medically, it was I was just so grieved on her behalf at the burdens that she was carrying, and in this particular culture that I am in, that many of us are in, not all of us, but many of us are in, this kind of Catholic culture. I've referred to it as the culture of life before. Actually, that was John Paul II more than me, but I got it from him. But, one thing about being part of like the culture of life, where you see family as a good thing, children as a good thing, nieces, nephews, and just the mess and the chaos that comes with it. When you see that as a good thing, being surrounded by life is being surrounded by more difficulty. I mean, that's just statistics. The more people who are in your circle, your family, your extended family, the more you're going to face hardship. And my husband Joe commented that about the circles, the fan base that I have. He said, your fans, I mean, man, they're in it. Like that's real life, the culture of life is not for the weak. And so anyway, so one of my friends who was dealing with something very hard, I felt like she was about to like have a mental break. And I said, comedy can be a great way to take your mind off of things. And I said, a little bit of tough talk here. You've got to take your mind off of things. You can't live your life in a stress spiral. That is, as a mother, you have a duty to your family to get your mind off of this for a minute, to just, collect yourself. And she's like, I know, but I've tried, and anything I try, it's just, I can't stop the spirals and the stress. And I said, look, just pull up a freaking comedy special, okay? Like just to give yourself a reset so that you can connect with God and all that. And she said, okay, you know what? Okay, thank you. I'm going to take your advice. And she said, would you actually recommend, some good comedy for me to watch? And she said she'd watched all of Gaffigan's stuff. And this was before like Leanne Morgan and Nate Bargatze had really taken off. And so I just remember looking around, and all of the comedy was just like the first one I pulled up. One of the first jokes was this really just vulgar, unfair, and unfunny anti-Catholic joke. It was just so rude and annoying. So I moved on to the next one. The next one, 10 minutes in, just making fun of religious people as being weak and dumb. And it was like, gosh, there's just not, laughing really is a great and healthy opportunity for catharsis, for just letting go of what burdens us and working through those tensions. But there's just not a lot out there for people of my worldview and my perspective. And I told God, you should do something about it. You need to send someone into comedy who can like share our perspective and our worldview. And well, here we are years later. But anyway, that was a tangent. We don't have our sound effects today, but you can imagine. I'm imagining you guys ringing the bells that you that you bring to my show. Okay, hang on. Okay, I've pulled myself together. All that is to say is that the big driving force behind me doing what I do was to give people like you and people like me an evening out where we can just work through all the tension of our crazy lives, of being people, living in the culture of life, whether you have one kid or whether you have 10 kids or whether you don't have kids, and it's your community or your extended family that you're involved in, and just work out those, the things that come with that together. Know that that person on stage is living a life just like you are. And for me too, I mean, comedy is the way that I work out the hard things and the dark things and the scary things. And for that reason, looking only through the lens of what is best for my daughter, what is best for my family, and what is best for me, I would like to keep doing the podcast and doing my shows as much as possible. As of this recording, I don't know what that looks like, because we'll just have a better picture of things. I don't have a good picture right now of what things will look like in the coming weeks and months. If there are any last minute updates, I would probably put those on Facebook or Instagram. Those are my kind of like, hey, this is, last minute thing. Need you guys to know this. I'd probably put that on Facebook or Instagram. But since you guys are so sweet and you're always looking out for me, I do want to assure you, I don't feel any kind of heavy obligation. Like, I have to do the podcast. I have to do my shows. If I do them, honestly, it's for selfish reasons. It's just like, I need a chance to just be around you guys and have my cup filled by your wonderful, wonderful energy that, there's just no substitute for being around people in person. And to just share that moment of us having an evening together where we just take just a couple hours to forget about everything. I would like to do that as much as possible. Now, it might not be possible. Well, again, I should know more, I don't know, in a week or so. But, again, since you guys worry about me, I don't feel, I'm not doing it out of a sense of like, oh, I have to at all. In terms of updates, I will update here. I mean, obviously, I'll be talking about it on the podcast. I'd be surprised if I talk about anything else for a long time. Or maybe I won't. I mean, I don't know. This is 49 hours ago, I was living a totally different life. So I don't know, actually. I will say I do plan. It's a plan, and plans could change. As of this moment, my plan is to put details and more like really going into exactly what happened and all that on Patreon, because it's funny that I was just joking about that in the last episode. But in all seriousness, the reason I want to keep a lot of details on Patreon is it keeps it off of Google. It keeps it off of the internet, the main internet. Also, because there is a barrier to entry to be part of the Patreon community, it shields me a little bit from randos who just have no idea who I am and are not, they don't know who my daughter is. They don't know who I am. They just like hit the bong and are pulling up random podcasts and leaving comments on YouTube. Those kind of comments and people saying crazy things will happen. But I don't, I just want to minimize the details that randos have access to. Does that make sense? And also it's like where we are, where we're staying. We're not in Austin for this. We're not at home. I mean, I'm at home right now, but I might go into that a little bit more later, but where my daughter is in the ICU right now, and where this is all taking place, it's not close to home, and so people would be able to find me very easily once I explain all that. So that's why I'm keeping it on Patreon, and yeah, the money couldn't hurt either, guys. Let's be real. If you have ever faced a serious medical crisis, brain surgery, do you have any idea what we're looking at from that perspective? Not that it matters. Like, I'll sell literally every possession I have ever had, all my Sephora products, like, I'll be homeless. Fine. Money is no object. Whatever she needs is what we're going to do. But there is, you're like, all right, we've got some real medical bills coming down the pike here. When God sends me the comedy millions, we'll probably be breaking even on all of this. So, yeah, I mean, let's just be real. The money couldn't hurt either. But it's really more about, I want to protect my peace and sanity from random people who might just be, again, just coming across this. They have no idea who I am. They don't care. And they just want to say some trash on the internet. Again, that will happen and that's fine. But I want them to have less access to the details. Because I just don't have time in my schedule to find out where people live and show up at their house and slap them in the face and shake them and say, what the hell is wrong with you? I just don't have time right now to do that. I forgot. People have asked how my daughter is handling it. Incredibly, honestly, incredibly. She's the most impressive person I've maybe ever met. Yeah, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10 for people who found out that their headaches were a brain tumor and they're heading in for brain surgery very soon, she's a 10 in terms of her reaction. I think I will talk about that more on Patreon. Again, not interested in rando opinions about her reaction and all that. But it's incredible. Okay. Okay. I have a good story for you guys. It's really good. Okay. I'll say that in a minute. Let me say this too. I went to mass today. And I cannot describe the comfort that it gave me. And I felt moved to tell you guys who are not Catholic, I strongly recommend that you just cut it out and become Catholic. And it's not, and I don't mean it like, oh, I have my special Catholic prayers that mean that everything's going to be totally fine. Being Catholic is not an ATM machine where, you get the secret code and you type it in and then you get tons of material wealth. It's not that. The feeling that I felt moved to share with you guys is that I had at Mass was that when you become Catholic, you become part of a family. And it's a dysfunctional family, the earthly family here. You'll have to cut off a few of them because they're just toxic, horrible human beings. Like of the people I've blocked on social media, 8 out of 10 of them are Catholic. So yeah, it's not like all great people, but it is a family. And you guys know that Joe and I do not have siblings, and all but one of our parents are deceased. And that doesn't give us a lot to work with in terms of support for my daughter who's going through this, and then our 5 other kids. It's me and Joe and my mom doing just yeoman work over here. And I very much feel, I really feel right now, just that my lack of extended family. In grand total, I have 4 cousins, grand total. Because my dad was an only child also, I should say that. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, right. I was telling the non-Catholics to cut it out. Okay. Yeah. So here's what I felt at Mass. First of all, so much of my social network is from being Catholic. And it's not, you guys know what an introvert I am. It's not that I have tons of friends at my parish exactly. Although, I mean, I know people there, but it's like one of my comedian friends said, being Catholic it's like being part of a secret society. Somehow you just end up knowing people in, like, let's say, you might have coworkers. It turns out a coworker is a serious Catholic. So you kind of get to know that person. And then, like they have a cousin who's a monk or whatever. And there's also the big thing I was thinking about at Mass was the readings were so spot on. It was honestly crazy. And like, as Catholics, the entire world reads the same readings on the same day. And I just imagined mothers all over the world who are struggling with something difficult with their children hearing these same readings on the same day. I imagine a mother in Peru, a mother in Russia, a mother in Nigeria, and we also, this is getting more kind of mystical, but like we're also united in a real tangible way through the Eucharist, which we do not believe is a symbol. It's something very powerful, and it unites us in a real way. So anyway, and then there's the other thing is the rituals of the Mass, that it's not, if you've never been to a Catholic Mass, it's not like the pastor comes down from the ceiling with a laser light show and there are pyrotechnics. It's very different than that. There is ritual, meaning like we're doing the same thing at the same time. We say the prayers, certain prayers together, the exact same prayers, together at the same time. Sorry, I lost my train of thought again. And those rituals, those routines, they create familiarity because it's not this spontaneous, like watching a guy jump around on stage. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to be like, now I'm insulting Unitarians. I'm sorry. That's not what this episode was supposed to be about. But because it is, because the routines, the rituals give you a sense of coming home when you go through them, because it's like, for those of us who have been Catholic for many years, you walk into a place, you can go into any church anywhere in the world. Like I'll be at the hospital chapel, I'll be going to Mass there, and I know what to do because it's the same rituals. And I could go to Peru or Nigeria or Russia or wherever and go to a Catholic church, and one, I'd be hearing the exact same readings that the people back home are hearing. But also, it's like I know what to do. And as someone who not only just doesn't have that like being around extended family, like in our family we do things this way. I just didn't have that experience, but a lot of you guys know I moved a lot in my childhood, and this was before the internet, so it was just very different living in like Bismarck, North Dakota versus Dallas versus West Virginia versus Phoenix. And so it's like I always felt like I didn't know the customs, and then just when I figured them out, we'd move again. And the fact that I can walk into any Catholic mass anywhere in the world, and I know the customs, and I know what to do, and I know that that I belong. I really can't tell you how much that matters, especially during a time like this. Okay, I paused for a second to pull myself together because I don't need to have a full mental breakdown on this podcast. I will save that for Patreon, where I can monetize it. I'm kidding. This is humor is how I get through these things. I want to end with this story because it's amazing, and it carries with it something that I hope none of you guys ever forget this. So, all right, it's going to take a little bit of jumping back and forth in time. So buckle in and stick with me. My husband has a friend named Warren. Warren has been so instrumental in us getting the care that we need on short notice that if you ever see me with a full back tattoo that just says Warren on it and has a picture of him riding a unicorn or something, just don't be surprised. That's because he helped us. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but suffice it to say, Warren changed our lives fundamentally. My daughter is getting the very best care she possibly could. And I am certain that would not be happening without Warren. We wouldn't have been able to. We wouldn't have had access to it. That was all Warren. So actually, you know what? Pause. Please say a prayer for our friend Warren. Boy, I will be indebted to him for the rest of our lives. Okay, so this is the positives that I have to look to in this situation are largely thanks to Warren. Here's how my husband met Warren. My husband was, he was in grad school. He was about 22 years old. I believe he had been doing a bit of partying. I didn't know him at this time, but the way the story goes, I strongly get the impression that maybe some beers had been had. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and my husband, in his state, when you're in that state and you're 22, you want some good fast food. So my husband decided that he wanted Jack in the Box, and he was on foot in like a university campus area. So he goes up to the Jack in the Box drive-through, and they would not serve him because he was on foot. They said for safety reasons, we will not take your order. I guess they had like a little, I don't know if they had a camera or I don't know, whatever. For whatever reason, they knew he was on foot and they refused to take his order. It's like part of their, it's liability or something. My husband has the kind of personality that you could be sure when he was denied that food that you could actually be more certain that my husband was going to get his Jack in the Box than you could be that the sun would rise the next day. He has that kind of personality. So for sure, one thing we knew was going to happen. He was getting his Jack in the Box. He just didn't know how. So he was sitting there pondering it, and a car pulls up full of guys. And he was kind of like, yeah, whatever, and was still thinking about how to get his food. But then he noticed that there was a Sigma Chi bumper sticker on the back of the car, and that's his fraternity from college. And he thought, oh, perfect. So he ran up to the guys, like knocked on the window, asked them to roll down the window. And he said, I'm a Sigma Chi. I don't know if they have special passwords or handshakes or something. I think he might have said some signal, but he has a small tattoo of Sigma Chi. So that, I mean, either, so they knew either he is a Sigma Chi or he's a really big fan after seeing that tattoo. So he said, hey, these guys, I'm sorry, you guys don't know me, but this stupid Jack in the Box won't serve me without, unless I'm in a car. And so he said, can I get in the car with you? And then, we can get this order. And they were like, yeah, sure, jump in. Yeah, absolutely. So he jumps in, and one of the guys in the car was Warren. And that's how they met all those years ago. And that is how he knows Warren, who set us up with this care that has completely changed the trajectory of what we are looking at. At that time, my husband, he wasn't really practicing any kind of faith. He was never an atheist like I was. I mean, he never denied God or anything, but he hadn't been to church in a while, The Bible was pretty dusty in his apartment. He was not actively, and this was way before we converted to Catholicism. So he was not, he just wasn't practicing any particular faith. And so this is the point that I want to end on. This situation would be looking very different without the help of our friend Warren. And the way we know Warren is because of that drive-through situation. And so I just, I don't know when I'll be back on this podcast. It might be next week, or it might be a couple months. We just don't know what we're looking at. But in case it is kind of a longer time, I just want to leave you guys with the message that God is always, he's always active in your life, and he's always looking out for you, and God is still with you and still loves you and still doing absolutely incredible things in your life that you might not even see for 30, 40 years to come. Even if you are drunk and standing at a Jack in the Box drive-thru. Keep us in your prayers, and I will update you guys when I can.